Welcome to the Memory and History channel. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on more videos like this one. Between 1915 and 1919 in Ottoman Syria, an Armenian mother knelt beside her dead daughter in a field outside Aleppo. Genocide had stolen everything: family, home, future. Her grief, captured in one devastating photograph, revealed the Armenian people's systematic destruction. On October 31st, 1917, as daylight faded, 800 Australian light horse charged across open country toward Ottoman artillery, rifles and machine guns at Beersheba. Hooves thundered through dust and danger in one of history's last great cavalry charges. On October 31st, 1937, Japanese SNLF troops reenacted their final assault on Shanghai's Sihang warehouse for press cameras. The actual attack occurred before daybreak, as Chinese forces retreated, the abandoned warehouse falling with minimal resistance. On October 31st, 1864, the U.S. Congress swiftly admitted Nevada as the 36th state during the Civil War's final year. Political necessity drove the rush to statehood. Lincoln needed electoral votes and support for constitutional amendments. In 1911, King George V embarked on a 10-day royal hunting expedition in Nepal with a massive 12,000-person crew. Tigers, rhinoceros, bears, leopards, deer, boar, porcupines, and birds fell before Imperial rifles. In 1939, Spain, an Italian soldier, stood amid the Spanish Civil War's final days. He had traveled to fight for fascism alongside Franco's forces. War-weary and far from home, he represented Mussolini's intervention in foreign conflict. Two Arrernte men from Hugh River were photographed in 1897 and again in 2025, separated by over a century. Time bridged generations, while culture endured through colonization, displacement, and survival. The rock spotting comparison revealed resilience, ancient traditions persisting despite empire's attempts at erasure. Japanese Nakajima Ki-44 Shoki fighters, codenamed Tojo by allies, stood ready at Narimasu Airfield northwest of Tokyo. The 47th Sentai's interceptors represented Japan's desperate defense against American bombers approaching the homeland. In 1910, two students shared a dorm room at the University of Illinois, their space reflecting collegiate life over a century ago. Books, simple furniture, and youthful optimism filled the modest quarters. They represented an era when higher education remained privilege, not right, and young minds gathered to build futures. In 1962, photographer Don McCullen captured protesters in Whitehall during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Fear and defiance filled the streets as humanity teetered on nuclear annihilation's edge. Citizens demanded peace while superpowers gambled with existence itself. In 1955, photographer Robert Frank captured Belle Isle, Detroit, revealing America's complex social landscape. His lens found truth in ordinary moments, race, class, and isolation coexisting on an island park. Frank's unflinching vision documented post-war America beyond propaganda's glossy surface. 17-year-old Julianne Kipsey survived a plane crash over the Peruvian Amazon and endured 11 days alone in the jungle. Strapped to her seat, she fell 2 miles through the sky. Injured and terrified, she walked through dense rainforest, navigating rivers. In 1953, families moved into Lakewood, California's new subdivision, embodying post-war American dreams. Identical houses stretched endlessly across former farmland, promising home ownership and suburban prosperity. Moving trucks, children playing, and hope filled identical streets. On November 7, 1920, in strictest secrecy, 4 unidentified British bodies were exhumed from temporary battlefield cemeteries at Ypres, Arras, Aisne, and the Somme. One would become the unknown warrior, representing all who fell without names. Billie Holiday, known as Lady Day, lived a turbulent life marked by extraordinary talent and profound tragedy. Her voice transformed jazz forever, carrying raw emotion that revealed both ecstasy and pain. Racism, addiction, abusive relationships, and legal persecution shadowed her brilliance. In 1959, 9 hikers died mysteriously on Russia's Dyatlov Pass under bizarre circumstances. They fled their torn tent in freezing night, some barefoot, facing unexplained injuries and strange radiation traces. Decades later, the mystery endures. Theories range from avalanches to military tests. In 1901, the Yiling Laundry stood on 10th Street in Washington, D.C., representing Chinese immigrant labor and resilience. Behind the storefront lived stories of hard work, discrimination, and survival in a nation that welcomed their labor, but not their humanity. At the 1960 Summer Olympics in Rome, marathon runners pushed human limits through ancient streets. Abebe Bikila ran barefoot to victory, stunning the world and bringing glory to Ethiopia. Endurance, willpower, and international competition converged in the Eternal City in May 1941. Nazi troops raised their banner atop Athens' ancient Acropolis, symbolizing Greece's occupation. Swastika's desecrated birthplace of democracy as totalitarianism conquered the cradle of Western civilization. The image represented dark irony, fascism's boot, standing where freedom once flourished. In 1906, San Francisco's ruins smoldered between Sacramento and 3rd Streets, photographed from the Union Ferry Building tower. The earthquake and fires left Market Street devastated, buildings collapsed into rubble and ash. Smoke rose from America's Pacific Jewel, reduced to apocalyptic wasteland. Between December 1941 and January 1942, Italian and German soldiers surrendered to a South African soldier at Bardia, Libya. Desert warfare brought men from 3 continents together in North Africa's brutal campaign. Defeat, exhaustion, and relief mingled in captured faces. In World War II, Black American soldiers fought with unmatched courage despite facing segregation at home. They stormed beaches, flew fighter planes, and bled for freedom they were denied. Their valiance proved heroism knows no color. In independent Tibet, from 1912 to 1951, brutal feudal serfdom trapped millions in chains. Serfs endured unimaginable cruelty under landlords who owned their bodies and futures. This forgotten history reveals humanity's darkest capacity for oppression. Japanese tankers rolled through Chinese soil, instruments of invasion and conquest. Metal beasts carried war's fuel while cities burned and blood soaked the earth. In silence, they witnessed empire's brutal hunger for dominion over innocent lands. In 1880, Colorado, Medicine Crow stood among his people before their teepee. 8 warriors and 1 mother with her baby faced the camera, proud, unbroken. This photograph captured a nation's spirit before the world tried to erase it. On May 26, 1965, Malaysian Rangers leaped from RAF helicopters into the dense Malaysia-Thai borderlands. Boots hit unfamiliar ground as tension filled the jungle air. They were guardians on the edge, where silence could explode into violence at any moment. In 1900 France, knife grinders lay flat against cold stone, saving their aching backs from ruin. Dogs perched on their legs, offering warmth through long, freezing hours. Survival demanded strange partnerships between man and beast. In 1942, Stalingrad, a Stuggy tank destroyer rumbled forward, leading German infantry through shattered streets. Behind its steel hull, soldiers advanced into hell. The city became a graveyard where metal and flesh collided in winter's merciless embrace. In 1914, Indian soldiers arrived on French soil, part of history's largest volunteer force. Over 1.5 million men crossed oceans to fight Europe's war. They brought courage from distant lands, bleeding for freedom that wasn't yet their own. In 1927, Clara Bow transformed into Hula Calhoun for Paramount Pictures. She danced across silent screens with electric energy, capturing hearts in an age of jazz and rebellion. Her performance became a timeless echo of Hollywood's golden innocence. On October 10, 1940, a Messerschmitt Bf 110 fell from London skies, twisted metal smoking on English soil. The German fighter bomber became a monument to defeat. Above, the Battle of Britain raged on, unrelenting and merciless. In 19th century Paris, Salpêtrière Hospital stood as both sanctuary and prison. Within its walls, modern medicine was born, yet women were deeply misunderstood, labeled, studied, confined. Their suffering became science's foundation, their voices lost to history's cold examination. In 1903, Crimea, the sun scorched Yevpatoria under the Russian Empire's flag. Heat shimmered over ancient streets where life moved slowly, desperately seeking shade. The burning air held stories of empires rising and falling beneath relentless, unforgiving skies. On November 28, 1942, Toni Jo Henry walked to Louisiana's courthouse, a headscarf hiding her freshly shaved scalp. She became the only woman to die in the state's electric chair. Her final steps echoed with tragedy and finality. In 1944, Vincente Minnelli directed young Joan Carroll and Margaret O'Brien through a haunting Halloween scene in Meet Me in St. Louis. Magic unfolded on set as childhood innocence met cinematic brilliance, creating moments that would flicker eternally. "65 years ago, Halloween arrived with handmade costumes and paper masks. Children ran through dark streets carrying flickering candles, knocking on neighbors' doors. Innocence filled the autumn air, a simpler time when shadows held only mystery, not fear. In 1952, Rock Hudson and roommate Bob Preble shared quiet moments doing ordinary guy stuff. Before fame's spotlight grew blinding, life was simple: laughter, friendship, and freedom existed in private spaces where they could simply be themselves, unguarded. On October 31st, 1925, Halloween unfolded with eerie homemade masks and Victorian-inspired costumes. Faces transformed into grotesque creatures from folklore and nightmares. This gallery captures a haunting era when celebration embraced the macabre with unfiltered, spine-chilling creativity. In 1967, Arnold Schwarzenegger shattered Bavaria's stone-lifting record, hoisting 508 German Fund 254 kilograms of raw weight. Muscles strained, determination blazed. Before Hollywood fame, before stardom, there was only iron, will, and a young man defying human limits. On January 22, 1931, Joseph Goebbels sat listening to communist Walter Ulbricht at a joint Nazi-communist event in Berlin. Ideological enemies shared a stage before bloodshed divided them. This moment captured democracy's collapse and totalitarianism's dark rise. Mahmoud Bagir Oglu Evazov claimed to have lived 152 years and 300 days, from 1808 to 1960. Soviet officials documented his extraordinary lifespan, though mystery surrounds the truth. His story became legend, a life-spanning empire's wars, and unimaginable human endurance. In 1939, the Palmetto Pigeon Farm became America's largest squab producer. Once, squab was more beloved than chicken, gracing fine tables across the nation. Times changed, tastes shifted, but this farm still stands, a delicious relic of forgotten culinary history. Around 1950, jazz player Bob McNeely exploded across the stage, saxophone screaming pure soul. The crowd watched, mesmerized, minds blown. He didn't just play music, he channeled lightning, rebellion, and freedom into every electric note that shattered the night. "87 years ago, Orson Welles defended his War of the Worlds broadcast. Though newspapers claimed mass panic over alien invasion, the hysteria was largely fabricated, a desperate attempt by print media to discredit radio's rising power and influence. In 1953, Queen Elizabeth II entered Auckland's St. James Theatre, with Prince Philip close behind. Crowds gathered, cameras flashed. A young monarch carried the weight of empire across distant seas, where duty met spectacle beneath New Zealand's welcoming lights. In October 1989, Boston officer Frank Pomodoro gently comforted his police horse, a quiet moment between partners. Trust flowed between man and beast, two souls bound by duty, exhaustion, and unspoken understanding. Their bond transcended words, pure and deeply loyal. Josephine Baker stood before the camera in a moment frozen in time. She was revolution wrapped in silk and defiance, a dancer, spy, and civil rights warrior. Her gaze held continents, her spirit unbreakable, her legacy eternal and fierce. Norwegian speed skater Oscar Mathiesen stood draped in medals and honors earned through the early 1900s. Each award told stories of frozen lakes conquered, records shattered, and glory claimed. He wore triumph like armor, proof that dedication transforms ice into immortality. On her 1886 wedding day, Frances Folsom became the youngest First Lady at 21, marrying incumbent President Grover Cleveland. She stepped into history with grace and youth, the only woman to wed a sitting president inside the White House walls. In 1908, New York, the East Side Free School for Crippled Children stood at 155-157 Henry Street. Within its walls, hope fought against hardship. A glass negative preserved this moment, fragile children given dignity, education, and a fighting chance at life. In 1942, a photo reconnaissance P-51 Mustang wore striking dazzle camouflage unlike any other. Armed with 4 20mm cannons, it blended art with war. A deadly hunter painted an illusion, soaring through hostile skies where beauty and violence collided. At lethal speed, the Supermarine Spiteful and Seafang were Britain's forgotten fighters, evolutions of the legendary Spitfire that arrived too late. Sleek, powerful, but obsolete before they could prove themselves. They remain beautiful relics of an era when propellers surrendered to jet engines' roar. In 1916, King Alfonso XIII tested an automobile in Guipúzcoa, Spain. Behind the wheel, royalty met modernity. He gripped progress itself as engines replaced horses and tradition bowed to innovation. The future roared to life beneath a monarch's curious, adventurous hands. On November 2, 1976, Jimmy and Rosalind Carter embraced as television declared victory. Joy, relief, and disbelief filled the room. A peanut farmer from Georgia had become president-elect. In that hug lived hope, partnership, and America's improbable dream realized. In 1943, Sung Mei-ling arrived in the United States on a diplomatic mission. China's First Lady captivated Congress and crowds with eloquence and grace. She carried her nation's suffering and hope across oceans, pleading for support in humanity's darkest war. A German staff car rolled through occupied France, carrying officers through conquered territory. Its polished exterior reflected a nation's arrogance while resistance simmered in shadows. The vehicle moved forward, oblivious that empires built on brutality eventually crumble into dust. In 1915, Mary Pickford starred in the silent film Fanchon the Cricket, captivating audiences with expressive eyes and graceful movement. Without words, she conveyed complete emotional worlds through gesture and presence. America's sweetheart commanded the screen with innocence and strength, proving that true artistry transcends language, speaking directly to the heart. During Sherman's march, all bummers from the 121st Ohio foraged through Georgia, photographed in Sandersville. These soldiers stripped the southern countryside, seizing supplies and spreading Union power through destruction. They embodied total war's harsh reality, where armies lived off conquered land, leaving scorched earth, empty homes, and the devastating price of rebellion. 150 years ago, Queen Maria of Romania was born into a destiny of crowns and conflicts. She would become a powerful diplomat, beloved monarch, and symbol of resilience during World War I. Her intelligence and charisma shaped nations, proving that royalty could wield influence through courage, conviction, and unwavering dedication. In 1998, Carla Faye Tucker arrived at the Texas death house in Huntsville for execution. She had murdered a couple with a pickaxe and brutal violence. Her case drew global attention as only the second woman executed in America since the 1970s. Redemption, justice, and capital punishment collided in one haunting final walk. On June 22, 1887, Stephen Pierre's final photograph captured him at Niagara Falls before attempting an unplanned nighttime tightrope crossing. 3 days later, his body was discovered beneath his cables near the Niagara River Gorge. Ambition and darkness conspired fatally. The Daredevil's last gamble ended in tragedy, swallowed by the river's merciless roar. The 17th New York Veteran Zouaves stood in Sandersville, Georgia, their distinctive uniforms marking them as elite fighters during the Civil War. These battle-hardened soldiers moved through conquered Confederate territory with disciplined precision. Miles from home, they represented Union power pushing deep into the South's heart. In 1968, Bobby Kennedy was shot in a Los Angeles hotel after winning California's Democratic primary. Hope died with him that night, as bullets shattered America's dreams once again. The nation watched another Kennedy fall, assassinated at the height of promise, leaving behind grief, rage, and haunting questions about violence consuming leaders offering change. In 1880, Baku, the Nobel brothers and their engineers built an oil empire through the Brothers Nobel Company, founded in 1879. They produced 20% of Tsarist Russia's oil and refined 49% of its kerosene. Machinery hummed as fortunes rose from black earth, transforming Azerbaijan into an industrial powerhouse fueling empires. In 1946, Hollywood actress Patricia Alphen embodied post-war glamour with radiant beauty and captivating screen presence. Studio photographers captured her elegance during cinema's golden age. She represented dreams manufactured in California, where starlets became symbols of American aspiration, escapism, and feminine allure for audiences seeking hope and fantasy after years of wartime sacrifice. Billie Holiday, known as Lady Day, lived a turbulent life marked by extraordinary talent and profound tragedy. Her voice transformed jazz forever, carrying raw emotion that revealed both ecstasy and pain. Racism, addiction, abusive relationships, and legal persecution shadowed her brilliance. She sang through suffering, creating art from anguish. At a 1961 press party, Harpo Marx, Jane Mansfield, Frank Sinatra, and Red Skelton gathered together, embodying Hollywood's golden era glamour. Comedians, crooners, and bombshells mingled under flashbulbs, their smiles freezing a moment when entertainment royalty ruled. Behind the cameras lived larger-than-life personalities. In 1945, Tulsa Hill, London, Gunner Hector Murdoch arrived at his new prefabricated house, greeted joyfully by his wife and son. War had ended, and homecoming began. The modest structure represented Britain's promise to rebuild lives and families. After years of separation and fear, 3 people embraced, proof that survival, love, and simple shelter restored hope. In 1937, the Nanjing Massacre unfolded as Japanese forces unleashed unspeakable horror upon China's capital. For 6 weeks, soldiers murdered, raped, and brutalized hundreds of thousands of civilians. The city drowned in blood and ashes. It remains one of history's darkest atrocities, a testament to war's capacity for systematic cruelty and inhuman devastation. The Battle of Champagne saw French forces hurl themselves repeatedly against German lines in brutal trench warfare. Thousands died in muddy fields for yards of scorched earth. Artillery thundered endlessly as men climbed from trenches into machine gun fire. The Champagne region became a graveyard where strategy failed, sacrifice mounted, and hope drowned